Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series 2023 from 99X. And this is the first session of the year. And the topic of the session is tips and tricks for Azure Exams. And I'm Kamal Ratnayaka. I'll be doing the session today. And currently, to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm currently working as a technical lead at 99X. I have been working in software industry for around 8+ years. Mainly, I've been working with Microsoft Azure and .NET, and that is my stack. And very recently, I've been awarded Microsoft MVP as well. Now, to tell you a little bit about the session today, the session is about tips and tricks for cloud computing, and that is the title of the session. But the main focus of this session is sharing few tips for mastering cloud computing. So if you take any knowledge area, it could be mathematics, it could be physics, any knowledge area, there are meta level tips that can be explored, that can be shared. So in this session, I'm sharing with you a set of tips that helped me to learn cloud computing. So this session has 3 parts, as you can see in the screen. We have the tips, a set of tips for mastering the cloud computing, and that covers around 50% of the session. And we have 30% of the session dedicated to personal productivity. For doing these exams, we should improve the personal productivity aspect of our lives as well. And the third part is about the exam, how you can pick an exam, how you can learn for it, what you should know before sitting for the exam. So yeah, this is the topic. These are the things that I'm planning to cover in this session today. So, and to tell you a little bit about the session, this session does not contain any hacks. Even though it says tips and tricks, it does not contain any hacks to pass the session, pass the exams. And this session does not focus on any specific exam like Azure AZ 104 or AZ 204. It does not contain any exam specific topics. It just covers general cloud computing related things, how you can master cloud computing. That is the focus of the session today. And I've added this book as an image to this slide because this is a book that changed my life. Actually, you can use this book to master anything. So it could be cloud computing, it could be playing guitar, or it could be playing piano, anything. To build mastery, this is a great book. If you want to master anything, just follow this book. Just read this book. So I just want to add that here as well, because the tips that I'm sharing today, they're coming from this book. Actually, they're kind of based on the theme is from this book. So let's get started with the part 1 of the session, and that is the tips for mastering cloud computing. The key learning principle that I've used for compiling these tips so basically the foundation of these tips is creating positive feedback loops, having positive reward cycles when learning. So it doesn't matter what you do in life. If you want to do it successfully, you should establish a reward system that motivates you to do it more and more. So we should identify the areas that stops you from learning cloud computing, and we should always try to encourage the areas, the things that motivate you to learn cloud computing. So basically, creating positive feedback loops is the principle or the foundation of the tips that I'm sharing today. So the tip number 1 is having your own cloud subscription. So basically, okay, you won't learn cloud, but how many of you actually has your own cloud subscriptions that you can have full control over? Not a lot of us use our own cloud accounts. Maybe you're using a free account, or we're using a university account or a company account. The problem with these accounts is that we don't have full control over these accounts, right? And the next thing is there can be 3 types of people who are learning cloud computing. You could be a beginner, you could be intermediate student, intermediate practitioner, or you could be an advanced practitioner. As a beginner, when you get started, right? And when you use these company maintained accounts or university accounts, it's possible that they are enforcing a lot of policies. And as a beginner, they should be the environment that you're working on should be fully free for you to do anything. So basically, the policies should not block you from doing your experiments. So what happens is that you try deploying something, you try creating these resources, you try configuring these things, and it doesn't work. There could be a message saying, okay, this policy is blocking you, so you can't do it. So what happens is that you get demotivated, you get frustrated, and you stop learning it. So my point is, it's really important that you have your own cloud subscription, just like you have your own a Netflix account, a Spotify account. Just get a pay-as-you-go subscription at least until you pass the exam. Just have your own account. If the thing that you're trying to do does not work in your company account, that you use for experiment stuff, just use your own account to deploy it. And I know what you're thinking now. What you're thinking is the cost, right? You're afraid that you will get a huge bill at the end of the month. And if you have this problem, what you can do is just learn the basics of cost management first. That should be your first lesson. Just learn how to manage cost in one of these cloud platforms. Could be Azure, could be AWS. Just learn the basics of cost management. So basically, you can create budgets, you can create cost alerts. If you spend more than $1, you can set up a mail, right? So basically, with that, you can manage the cost. Just have your own cloud subscription, and this will give you the foundation to build your knowledge, will deploy other services, because you know how to manage a subscription, you know how to manage the management groups and subscription level. So you know how your credit card is connected to the system. So you know the foundation. So on top of that, you can start to learn. So that is tip number one, having your own cloud account to learn. And the tip number two is learn to use a CLI, the command line interface, as soon as possible. Now, one mistake that people make is that they start working with cloud. They start using these beautifully crafted portals to get started. As a beginner, it's okay to do that, right? But the problem is when you move from this beginner level into intermediate or advanced levels, you keep using these UIs, these portals, to do your configurations, right? Now let me explain the problem of this. Let's say I'm gonna explain this with this story of VNet and two VMs, right? So let's say you want to learn how to deploy two virtual machines in a virtual network. So basically, these are cloud stuff. This is cloud. You are deploying VNets and VMs. So these are the cloud stuff. So you deploy this. You want to learn how to deploy two VMs in a virtual network, and you want to connect those two VMs so that they can communicate to each other. It's a very common scenario when deploying traditional application, like kind of lift and shift scenario applications. It's a very common scenario. You want to learn this, right? So what you do is you go into one of these portals, Azure portal, a beautifully crafted portal. It's a beautiful icons and a lot of cool stuff there. So basically, you go into the portal, you create a virtual network that takes like 5 to 10 minutes for you to create it, and then you create a new virtual machine. For that, it can take like 20 minutes for you to create a virtual machine. You specify the name, you need to specify the region and the networking stuff, disk information and licensing information. There are a lot of variables, there are a lot of configurations that you have to do to create this virtual machine. Okay, you create the virtual network, and you create the virtual machine, and then you create another virtual machine. You spend your time, and you spend an hour configuring this setup. Now, in the end, what happens is that it doesn't work. It doesn't work as expected. The communication does not happen. So you get frustrated, right? And you stop learning cloud computing. So that is what I meant by creating positive feedback loops. What is blocking you from learning these things is that using the portals. The problem is that you spent 1 hour configuring it, and we are all human and we make careless mistakes. Now, it's possible that you selected the wrong subnet or something like that, so it doesn't work, right? And you get frustrated and you stop learning. The solution for this is learning a CLI. Now, with a CLI, this is the script that you can use to create the resources. You can just create your VNet in one command line. The command line argument, and then you can create the VMs with another 2 commands. So basically, with 3 commands, you can deploy the whole thing, and in one screen you see all the configurations, right? If you spent like 1 hour configuring the stuff in the UI here and there, you can't find the mistake that you made. But if you configure these environment like this, in one screen, you can see all your configurations. So you can make the changes and you can redeploy it, right? It's basically, it becomes kind of a programming, right? Basically, if you are especially if you're coming from a programming background, like learning cloud computing becomes a programming problem. Now what you're working in, now you're working in the programming domain. You can make the change and you can redeploy it to see whether that works. So basically the idea here is that try to learn how to use a CLI as early as possible in your career. That will definitely accelerate your learnings. Now, and you get the reward as a developer, right? I mean, basically when you write something and when it runs, you get kind of this happy feeling, you get a reward, right? So this is exactly what I mean here, basically creating rewards, learning faster. And there's one other benefit in this approach, and that is, let's say the first day you wanted to deploy this, let's say one VM and basically two VMs and a VNet, and you've configured it. The next day you want to learn about, let's say, application gateway, another resource in Azure. For this, what you have to do is, if you're using the portals, you have to create the VNet and the VMs and all that. So that takes like 1 hour, and you have to configure the application gateway. It's a really hard service to configure. That takes like another maybe another 1 hour. So you spend like 2 hours configuring this to see it doesn't work, right? So that's the thing that demotivates you from learning it. So basically, just try to work with CLI as soon as possible. And when you might ask, when should I start using a CLI? So basically, if you're just deploying one resource, one service in cloud, like one VM or a one app service, it is okay to use the portal. But when you work with multiple services, like two app services, like one VNet and two VMs like that, if it involves more than one service, you should not do that configuration using the portal. You should do it in a CLI. So that is the tip number 2. Right? And the next tip is, the third tip is applying an intentional effort to master the basics, right? Now, many people think that you can just forget about the basics, like now if you think about cloud, it is basically virtualization and networking, right? That's the foundation of cloud computing, right? Many people think that you don't need to know about networking to master cloud computing, and that is wrong, because you can't understand how a lot of services work without the basic knowledge of networking, like how an OSI model works, how DNS works. You cannot understand these services without this basic knowledge. If you tried to learn cloud and if you failed, maybe this is what's blocking you. Now, let me tell you an example. Let's say you try learning about, let's say, Traffic Manager, one service in Azure, and the definition of that says Azure Traffic Manager is a DNS-based load balancer, right? So you should understand how DNS works, right? And if you start learning about, let's say, Front Door, another service in Azure, it says that it uses the Anycast protocol. Like that, there are like underlying layer of basics that you should know to master cloud computing. Now, am I saying go back to school and learn all the basics and come back to learn cloud computing? No, that's not what I mean here. What I mean here is that when you come across a basic word like OSI model or DNS or Anycast protocol or any of these basic word like fundamental technology, you should apply an intentional effort to learn it. Because the thing is, that has the highest return on investment, because you can use that knowledge to learn anything. So basically, those basics, they're timeless. So apply an intentional effort to master the basics, master networking concepts. If you don't know them, you can't really understand how cloud works. So that is tip number 3. So with that connected to tip number 3, you can study cloud computing in a platform agnostic manner. Like basically, you can learn one platform like Azure or AWS, and you can easily, there's always a one-to-one mapping of these services to all the in other platforms, right? For example, if you learn Azure, you can easily transfer that knowledge to AWS. Now basically what I've done is I asked from ChatGPT, the similar service in AWS to Azure Service Bus. Now, I worked with Service Bus, so I wanted to know what similar service AWS has. As you can see, we can easily get the answer here, and you can go one step further, and you can get the source code as well to interact with the platform. So as you can see, if you understand the basics, if you know the foundation, you don't have to. You can learn it in a platform agnostic manner. You can just transfer that knowledge. While I was there, I asked another question from ChatGPT, and that is, should I use exam dumps for passing an exam? So what it says is that it is not advisable to use exam dumps as the primary means of preparing an exam. It says don't use this basically. But what caught my eye is that this part here. If you pass an exam with the help of exam dumps, you may not actually have the knowledge and skills required to perform the job. So using exam dumps may put your job and reputation in danger. So if you don't have the knowledge and skills to perform the job. So basically, it's really amazing how ChatGPT is saying these kind of stuff. It really caught my eye, and I added this into the slide because some people still ask like how to get exam dumps and things like that. And if you don't know what exam dumps are, these basically it's a collection of questions and answers from previous version of an exam. Someone remembers those and just putting on the internet. They sell it, and you can purchase it and do the exam. And 2023 it doesn't really work. It's really embarrassing to find trying to find these dumps to do exams, because the journey is the most important part. Learning is the most important part, and that leads to our next slide, and that is the exam should be the guide. It should not be the goal. The goal is learning cloud computing, and you should try to make the exam the guide. Right now, let me tell you what I mean here. So basically, for many people, passing the exam is the goal. What you should do is you should make learning cloud computing the goal, and use the exam as the guide, because these cloud service providers like Microsoft, they structured these exams, and the fundamentals exam, the associate exams, and expert exams. They have structured them in a really nice way to guide you through the process of learning. You can start with the basic like fundamentals exam. Then you can do associate level. Then you can do an expert level. And if you go into one of these exams, if you go into an associate level, they have this structured way of giving you the knowledge that you need to build on top of each of the concepts, right? So these exams can guide you to learn cloud computing. You should use it as a guide, and at the same time, you can pass an exam as well. Just try to schedule an exam. Just focus. Just use it as a guide to learn cloud computing. So that is the fourth tip of the session. And the fifth tip is, now cloud computing, mastering cloud computing is basically it's a practitioner's game. So basically, it's about practicals. It's about actually doing hands-on stuff, right? You can't learn cloud computing reading articles. That's why I mainly said just have your own cloud account. Just pay for one and just get it. It's not a risk. We take much bigger risk than that today in life. So just get your own cloud account and do hands-on work. If you spend like 3 hours learning in Microsoft Learn, reading articles, you can do it. You can basically grab the same principles, the same knowledge, if you do one practical work, right? Spending like 10 to 20 minutes. So basically, try to do hands-on work as much as possible. And if you're preparing for an exam, just try to do preparation exams as well. I'm coming into this in my next part of the session. So, and the tip number 6 is find a mentor who passed the exam of your target. You could be focusing on DevOps side, you could be focusing on data or AI side, or you could be a developer. Just try to find someone who passed the exam, and he'll guide you through the process. That these tips that I'm sharing today, these are the things that helped me, honestly. These are not taken from the internet. Honestly, these are the things that helped me to learn to do a few exams on Azure. So yeah, find a mentor who has done the exam. And the next thing is start creating content. Start sharing your experiences. So basically, like as I said in my previous slides, you start creating scripts to learn, right? and you can build on top of these scripts. Like you created the script to deploy 2 VMs, and the next day you deploy the, basically you can use the same script to deploy the application gateway as well. Just modify it, just create a branch from it, and you can deploy application gateway as well, what I mentioned in previous slide. So basically you can use these scripts. You can use these scripts, you can write a blog you can keep it as a repository of your work, and you can build on top of it. So basically creating content definitely will improve your knowledge, because to create content, you do further more research about the technology, you truly understand it, and you're helping others, right? So start creating content. So that is my tip number one. And so these are the things that accelerated my learnings when it comes to cloud computing. So this is part one of the session, and the part two is the importance of personal productivity. Now, the part one is focused on mainly building cloud computing skills, right? Now I'm focusing on moving more into the exam side of the things. Now, why am I adding personal productivity here? And before moving forward, let me tell you one thing. I'm not a personal productivity expert. I'm just sharing these things because these are things that helped me study cloud computing. So basically, let me ask you this question. Like, have you ever started studying for an exam, but found yourself unable to finish? Okay, you start having this goal. Okay, I'm going to do it, and you start doing your studies for like 2 or 3 days, right? And that's it. You just, yeah, that happens, right? That happened to me a lot. So that's why I said having an important. That's why I want to emphasize the importance of having a personal productivity plan. So you should actively try to look into the aspects of personal productivity, because passing an exam is an additional achievement in life. If you really think about it, it's not a part of your daily daytime, job. No one like tells you everything every day. Okay, your team lead does not come and ask you, okay, have you passed this exam? No, it's basically another achievement in life, right? So basically, to do any achievement that is not related to work, not related to your like main studies or main work, basically you should improve your personal productivity aspect of the things. Now, in this session, I want to share with you basically two things. And that is having the importance of a getting things done framework in your life. So basically, what I mean here is that you should have a plan to organize your work, right? You should start. So basically, if you're studying for an exam, right, you should create a set of like when you wake up, what you do, like basically a set of things that you do every day. You should have a set of, like, for example, if you watch this, should I watch this video, and should I watch this? Should I read this article, like that? So you should have you have a lot of things to get done for an exam. So you should have a getting things done framework. If you Google getting things done framework, you can find it. So basically, this is the first thing that I want to highlight when it comes to the personal productivity, having getting things done framework in place. And the next thing is you should try to build habits, right? If you want to do any productive thing in life, just try to start building habits. Because the thing is, now the idea of habits, how they improve personal productivity, has come into the stage like 3 years ago now. There's a lot of books written about these building habits and how it can transform your life, transform your career. So basically, read a few of these books if you're interested to build these habits of learning, and you can definitely, this will help you go through these exams, and to save your time, like to save you around 60 hours of your time, and give you the message that you need to pass the exam. Basically, never rely on motivations, but rely on habits. These books, that is the message that they basically give you. The thing is, if you rely on motivations, right? If you, like, someone tells you, okay, do this exam, you think, okay, I'm going to do it, but in few days, like, you just stop learning about it, you just stop following it. But if you include it in as a habit, like, so what I have done is in my productivity plan, what I have is I'm reading one article every day, something like that. So it took like 10 minutes for me to read an article, right? And then it became a habit. that guided me through exams. So basically, you should never rely on motivations. You should always try to build habits, because the habits are long lasting, and those are the things that actually gives you the results. Motivations are temporary. So yeah, so that is the second part of the session, and the third part is the actual exam, right? So basically, in this part, I'm going to cover how you can pick the exam, how you can continue learning, and how you can take the exam, and what you should know to before taking the exam. So by the way, if you have any questions about the content that I'm sharing, presenting today, you can post it in the comments, and I'll try to answer them in the end of the session. So yeah, so the first part is picking the exam. Now, when it comes to Azure exams, there are a lot of exams, right? There are three levels of exams. There are fundamentals. There are the level of fundamentals, the one in the below, and we have the associate level, and we have the expert level, right? If you are a student or a fresher, if you don't have experience, you can select these fundamentals exams. And if you're a student, there are ways to get these to do these exams free as well. I'm going to share how to do it later in this session. So basically, if you don't have any experience with cloud computing, you can just follow these exams. So as you can see in these, there are three exams here. We have AI fundamentals and Azure fundamentals, and basically data fundamentals. If you're interested in data science, and if that is your track, select AI fundamentals one. If you are a developer, go with Azure fundamentals. If you want to be a developer because you're a fresher, you haven't done anything yet, if you want to become a developer, just go with Azure fundamentals. And if you're interested in data side of things like big data or like ETL pipelines and data factory and these kind of stuff, you can go with Azure fundamentals exam. And if you're a practitioner, right? If you're a practitioner, if you've been using Azure for some time, like 1 to 2 years, you don't have to do the fundamentals exam. You can go with the associated level, right? There are many exams that you can follow. Based on your career, based on your goals, you can select the exam. If you're a developer, you can go with AZ204. If you're an administrator, you can go with AZ104. And if you're interested in AI solutions, you can go with 102. And if you're a data scientist, you can go with 100, DP100. So basically, these are the exams that are available in the associated level. And one of my colleagues recently explained to me the difference between AI and data scientist exams. So basically, if you're interested in really the core principles of data science, the theory side of the things, you can follow the data scientist exam. And if you want to just learn the cloud services that Microsoft provides, like cognitive services and things like that, you can go with the AI solution exam. Yeah, so basically, and if you're into data side, you can go with database administrator or data engineering as well. And if you have more than 5 years of experience, you can go with an expert level exam like Azure Solutions Architect and Azure DevOps Engineer exam. So these are really popular to be, there's a popular as a really hard exam, the expert level exams. So, and now this is an image that I've taken from the internet, and this is the official slide that explains all these exams. I'll be sharing the links to all of these content as well. So as you can see, we have Azure. Now, what I've shown you earlier is the Azure side of the things. Now, in addition to that, there are Dynamics and Power Platform and Office Microsoft 365, and there are a lot of other areas as well. And as I said earlier, we have fundamentals and associate level exams. We have expert exams as well. Now, this slide kind of covers everything, all the exams that you have. And now, if I go into the certifications portal, now let me show you the certifications portal. So basically, this is how you can find the exam that suits you, right? So if you go here and if you go into browse certifications, you will see that there's really nice filtering options available to find your exam. If you're a developer, for example, you can You can come here and you can select the developer role, and you can go into, as you can see, we have the certificates filtered. Now, if I go into one of these exams like AZ204, one of the popular certificate among developers. So if I go into that, as you can see, it has the basic description about it, and here you can see the now AZ204. It's a certificate. There's another. This is an exam. So basically, there are two things, as you can see. AZ204 developing clouds, developing solutions. So Microsoft Azure. This is an exam, and this is certificate. To earn this certificate, right? You need to do this exam. Right, and you only need this exam to earn this certificate. There are certificates that require multiple exams to pass. Now, if I search for like something like architect, see, let's say Power Platform Solution Architect. So that one, yeah, as you can see, that requires multiple exams. You need associate level first. You need associate level certificate, and you need an exam. Like that, this part of this, I mean, each, like all these exams, they have this section here that contains like what you need to earn the certificates. So if you scroll down, we have the content of the exam. We have the Microsoft Learn links here. You can follow these paths. This is the first thing that you should do before preparing for an exam. I'll be covering this in a few minutes. And if I scroll down here, as you can see, we have, this is where you can schedule an exam. You can select your country. Now, as you can see, it says 165 USD. If you select Sri Lanka here, it's $80 for this exam. So it's usually less. You have to pay less if you're living in a country like this. So basically, you can just schedule this exam by clicking this button. There's a nice wizard to guide you through the process, to do your payments, and very easy to do. And if I scroll a bit down, as you can see, this part contains a lot of other information about the exams. Now let me go into the certification poster. So just go through all this content here. As you can see, they are divided Azure into few parts like data analytics and hybrid cloud infrastructure and basically applications. And if you take this one of these exams, like where they kind of the position of these exams, they're mentioning it here. So there's a lot of documents that you can follow. Just go through with it. As you can see, yeah, this is another document that you can follow just based on the career path that you'd like to take. Just you can download these docs, and if you're, for example, developer, you can start with AZ204 and the additional paths that you can take based on the role and the projects that you're working on. You can get a lot of information if you follow this section here. And let me go back. And the next thing is this portal. If you want to follow exams, this portal is your friend. This contains a lot of information. The next thing that I want to show you is this exam demo portal. So let me go back and 1 second. Yeah, it kind of it gives you a kind of a test interface where you can experience how the test is going to be. So basically, the actual test is something like this. You have this UI. You can there are the things that you should read before doing the exam, and you can start the exam. So basically, this is how you actually face an exam. You can select these things, and you have options to review later. Just try this out if you're planning to sit for an exam. And there's one other thing that I want to show you, and that is the student certification page. Now let me go into that. Yeah, this is that. So basically, if you're a student, what you can do is you can come into this page here, and you can click learn more, and you'll be directed to this part. So basically, you can create your Microsoft Learn profile, and you can verify your profile, right? with your university, you can verify your profile, and then you can do these exams, especially the only the fundamentals exams, for free. This is a good, nice way for students to get started their Microsoft certification paths. And now let me go back. All right. Now, first thing that I wanted to highlight is just picking your exam. So that's what I covered. That's how you pick an exam. The second thing is continue learning. Now, so basically, what are the resources that you can utilize when studying for an exam? Now that you have picked an exam, so basically you can go through the Microsoft Learn documents. As I shown you earlier, there are like Learn modules that they have created. You can just go through them, and then you can find one other thing. My opinion is you need two things for an exam. You can just you can go through the Microsoft Learn pages, and then you need to find one course, one video-based course like Udemy or Pluralsight. And I have used Udemy and Pluralsight, but I've never used Cloud Academy and LinkedIn Learning. So basically, people say that they are good as well. Just try to find one video course for your target exam that matches your learning style as well. Try to find one and purchase one course, right? And the next thing is, like, the question that many people ask is that how long usually does it take to study for an exam? So basically it varies. It varies based on the exam, but usually it is possible to study for associate level exam within 2 to 3 months, right? Right. So now the last section is taking the exams. Now, what you should keep in mind before taking an exam. So basically, you need a government issued ID with your photo and name written on it in English, right? If you have the government issued ID in Sri Lanka that has the name in Sinhala, for example, you can't use it, but you can use it. You can use your passport or driving license for this exam. And the next important thing is that you create an exam profile. When you follow the wizard to schedule an exam, you create an exam profile. The name that you put there should match the name that you have in your ID, letter to letter, because in the when you before sitting in an exam, like they have like 30 minutes, it takes like 30 minutes to complete that preparation. Basically, you have to take few pictures of your ID and you have to upload it. If it doesn't match, if your name does not match the profile name, you won't be able to sit for the exam. So make sure that that matches. Yeah. And the next thing is, when you sit for an exam, now it's an online process. Make sure your table is clean. Keep only your laptop in the table and laptop and your mouse in the table. And they're basically the actual exam. It's kind of different from person to person. For me, what they have asked is what the examiner asked is that he wanted to see around my room. So I didn't have, for my first exam, I didn't have a kind of a detachable webcam attached to my laptop. So I have to kind of pick my laptop up and kind of show around the room. That is not a comfortable thing, kind of a weird thing to do before an exam. But yeah, I had to do it. And in the next exam, what they asked me is that they told me to show my phone like this in the screen to camera, and they wanted me to put it somewhere so they could see I'm putting it there. So they asked me to do that. So there are things like that happening in the exams. So and the next thing is, the examiner is monitoring you at all time until the exam ends. Because you have the webcam on, they're looking at your face all the time. You can't even whisper, for example. I mean, when I read stuff on the screen, I move my mouth. I kind of when I read it, but when I do that, they say, okay, don't whisper like that. They tell you in the chat. So basically, they are monitoring at all times, and you can't see the examiner, but they can see you. And the next thing is, the results are immediate. You can see the results immediately right after the exam. You can see the results. Yeah. Now, to tell you about the timeline for your studies, as I said earlier, you can study for an exam in 3 months. Like for any associate level exam, you can study in 3 months, and this is how you should organize your time. Let's say today is 24th of January. If you pick an exam on February 1st, just first thing that you should do is you should just go through the Microsoft Learn modules. At the same time, schedule the exam. If you do not schedule the exam, you will not do it. So that's basically just start by scheduling the exam. And the good thing about these exams is that if you're not ready at the scheduled date, you can just reschedule it. You have to do it 24 hours before it. And there are no limit to you can do like maybe 3 or 4 times you can do. There won't be a limit there. So if you can do it 24 hours before, you can reschedule the exam. So just you can schedule the exams after 3 months, then you're good to go. So after studying it, you can start going through the Microsoft Learn docs. At the same time, start following the video course that you have selected. And all these video courses like Udemy and most of these platforms, in addition to the video courses, they offer these test exams, practice exams. So basically, there are 2 practice exams with Udemy, for example. With Udemy example, basically try to attempt the first exam in the middle of the process, like around March 15th. You can try to do the first exam. And with that, just note down the weak areas for you to improve and work on those weak areas and do the second test exams before like 15 days before the actual exam, and then improve those areas, and then you can sit for the exam. So this should be the plan, and this works. And finally, if you received a certification, it's not a permanent thing. These certifications, they expire. So basically, they're valid only for 1 year. Now, what can you do to keep it forever? So basically, you have to go through this assessment each year to renew it, and it is not an exam. You don't have to like prepare your laptop and prepare your environment. And it's not an exam, it's basically an assessment. You're getting this email. You should follow the email, and it kind of takes you to Microsoft Learn portal that has the assessment. At your free time you can do it. So basically, the renewals, they are free. You don't have to pay. As I said, you can do it in Learn portal, and this is not proctored. Don't need to turn on your cameras and tidy up your table or anything. You can just do at your pace that you're comfortable, but you just need to complete it before the expiration date, right? So that you can extend your exam for 1 another year. And they're doing it for a reason, because the technology, it expires fast, right? They change every day. So they're doing it to keep you updated with it. Now, if you think about the assessment questions that they're asking, they are trying to assess whether you're up to date with the current updates with that related to that technology. Yeah. So yeah, this is it, everyone. This is what I wanted to cover. So basically, in the part 1 of this session, I wanted to give you a set of tips on how to master cloud computing, and then I wanted to highlight the importance of personal productivity to do these exams, because you're trying to achieve something extra. So you should definitely improve your personal productivity to do it. And the third part of the session, I covered the practical things that you should know when you select an exam, when you study for an exam, and you sit for an exam. So basically, this is what I wanted to cover. Now, if you have any questions, you can post in the chat. One of my colleagues will be forwarding the questions to me. If there are any questions, you can ask now. Yeah. Okay, I see that that's one question. Can you? Yeah. So basically, as I said, there's one question that says, "Can you suggest exams?" Yeah, as I said in my one of my previous slides. Yeah, based on your career path, right? You can select these exams. So if you want to become a for example, if you're a developer, I'm going to assume that you're a developer since you haven't mentioned anything. So if you're a developer, what you can do is you can start with, if you're a fresher, you can start with Azure Fundamentals, right? You can do it for free if you're a student, as I said. And then you can do AZ 204, the developer exam. So that is usually the path that everyone takes, every developer takes, every Azure developer takes. So otherwise, based on your career, where you want to be, you can select exams, and yeah, and you can find this slide if you go into the this certification portal, and if you go into an exam like this, and there's this certification poster, I think it was, yeah. Here, as you can see, we have the certificates, and you can select these certificates based on your requirement, based on your career path. Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's wait for another 2 minutes. If you have any questions, you can post in the comments. Yeah, that's one other question, and that's that. This is how long is the exam and how long is the renewal assessment? Yeah, I believe what he's asking, he or she's asking, is the duration of the exams. So basically, the duration depends from exam to exam. So usually it's from 2 to 3 hours. So from my experience, yeah, the exam takes like 2 to 3 hours, and the assessment that takes like 40 minutes to complete usually. Yeah, and that changes from exam to exam, but around it takes like 2 to 3 hours for any exam, and as an assessment it takes around 40 minutes. Yeah. Let's see if we get more questions. All right. Yeah. It seems like seems like those are the questions that we have received. All right. All right, guys. Now this is the end of the session, and thank you so much for joining this session. Hope you learned something new today. And this series of sessions from 99X, this will be concluded throughout the year. So if you are interested joining the sessions that you're planning, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can follow 99X Facebook page as well. And thank you so much for joining, and have a nice day, guys. Thanks.